Hello, and welcome back to a brand new season of The Positive Perspective. I'm your host, Kirstin Turner. In this episode, we're going to look at the idea of a hidden payoff. I'm talking about why we keep patterns in this episode, similar to the last one I released, but I'm coming at it a little differently today. By the end of this episode, I hope you'll have a better understanding of why we repeat patterns, why we sometimes keep them, how this shows up in different situations, and how to understand what need a pattern is fulfilling so you can meet that need in a healthier way. So let's just dive in. A hidden payoff is the benefit you get from a behavior that you don't consciously choose, but maybe your nervous system craves. So you might hate the long-term result of the pattern, but your system loves what it gets in the short term. So let's jump into a couple examples so that you guys follow along with me. So people pleasing, let's look at that one because that is a big one. People pleasing isn't about being too nice, although that is what we feel like it is a lot of the time, right? I just want people around me to be happy. But a lot of the time it can be about avoiding rejection, which can also really be about maintaining connections. So the need being fulfilled here could be connection, feeling accepted. And acceptance can often equal safety. So underneath, that could also be a need for certainty. So people pleasing could meet one need for one person or a different need for somebody else, or it could be meeting multiple needs. And that's why somebody continues to do it. And there's other reasons too, but I'm not going to go too far down into a people pleasing episode. So let's look at some other examples too. So let's look at overworking. That can be about control. That's the need for certainty. Or it's about feeling valuable, which is the need for significance. Overthinking isn't because you enjoy spiraling at night. It's because your brain thinks preparedness equals safety. And so again, right, that's that need for certainty, for safety. So what about staying busy all the time? That's often not ambition. It could be avoidance wearing this productivity costume. And so the payoff there is usually distraction. If I stay busy, I don't have to feel uncertainty. I don't have to slow down enough to notice what's uncomfortable, and busyness becomes a way to regulate emotion. Research on workplace stress shows that chronic busyness, though, keeps cortisol elevated, and elevated cortisol actually reduces clarity, creativity, and emotional regulation over time. So we tend to glorify being busy. I think we've all sort of experienced that, especially in North America, but I feel like everywhere now. But chronically staying busy keeps your nervous system in this stress state. And when you're stressed, you don't make better decisions. You make familiar ones because it's optimized, right? Your brain is trying to make decisions quickly. Oh, this is why patterns don't just repeat when things are hard. They repeat when we never slow down enough to interrupt them. And our behaviors are usually indicators of our needs. So let's look at another example. You might wonder why someone always seems to have a problem. I don't know if you know somebody like this, but someone who always has something going on or something to complain about. And what's funny is that that can actually fulfill the human need for significance because they feel important. They always have something happening. There's something to talk about. They matter. Something's going on in their life all the time. And so obviously this is maybe not a healthy way to meet that need, but it's still a need being met. So I think what will happen for most of us though is that like maybe we're familiar with some of these or we're familiar with and we understand these concepts, but we can still get stuck in them. And that can be very frustrating because you're like, I know better. I've read the books, I've listened to the podcasts, I've had these realizations. And yet the patterns still show up. And that's because insight alone doesn't calm our nervous system or rewrite what we've learned in the past, right? Or what's worked for us. Research shows that knowledge alone accounts for less than 20% of behavior change. So insights help you see the pattern, but it doesn't automatically teach your nervous system how to feel safe without it. So knowing something logically is one thing, but knowing how to apply it is an entirely different skill set. And your body doesn't respond to logic. It responds to, most strongly actually, to perceived threat. In fact, the brain processes threat about 5 times faster than reward. Crazy, right? If a pattern once helped you avoid rejection, failure, or embarrassment, your system's going to cling to that long after it stops being helpful. So when you even consider letting go of a pattern, your system isn't thinking, this is a great growth opportunity, which is, how we want it to react. It's thinking, hold on, this kept us safe. Why are you trying to remove this? What you're often feeling at this point then isn't really this resistance to change. It's this resistance to loss of certainty, loss of identity, loss of approval. The identity one is a big one, though, because research shows that identity-based habits are significantly harder to change than outcome-based ones because the brain processes an identity threat similar to an actual physical threat. So when a pattern is tied to who you believe you are, changing it doesn't just feel uncomfortable, it can feel like actually threatening. And this explains why balance can feel scarier than burnout for some people, right? Because burnout fits the identity. I'm a busy person, I've got all this stuff going on. So all of a sudden, if balance is coming in, they're like, what's going to drop? What's going to happen? And so they dive back in more and they're going. Okay, they feel burnt out again. Well, that feels natural in their nervous system. So, that's kind of how that can happen. There's another pattern that I see it play out with clients that I think is really worth talking and mentioning because I see it quite a bit. Oh, there's a couple, but they'll say things like, I know I'm pushing too hard. I want more balance. I want to flow easier between work and home. I know I need more support. But then when we look underneath about like why they know these things, but they haven't, come to fruition yet, it's because slowing down may feel like becoming irrelevant or not doing enough, which to them means they're not enough. Rest can feel like they're just going to be falling behind. So rest doesn't equal enjoyment, it equals stress. And balance feels like risking the identity that made them successful, which I've seen a whole paradox on just that one alone. But of course, in these situations, that's why the pattern stays. It's learned self-preservation. So what do we do with this? First, I would stop asking, how do I stop this pattern? Because then it's this thing that you have that you don't want, which is a natural response, but that's not going to help us shift things. Instead, a better question is what does this pattern or behavior protect me from? So it's more of a curious thing, right? Trying to understand as opposed to trying to get rid of. It's not this like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just change? But it's more of this like asking these questions of like, what feeling does this help me avoid? What does this give me in the short term? So I'll just share a quick example. So I think one of the top fears for people is public speaking. So if we look at public speaking, let's just say it's something that you want, right? You're like, this is going to give me, more growth opportunities, career opportunities if I can just get up on stage and talk in front of the company or wherever, let's just say. Okay. But you're not doing it. The opportunity comes and you don't grab it. You don't actively go for the opportunities or look for them. So let's just say, why would you not do it if you know that it's going to help your career, right? So if you ask, what feeling does this help me avoid? Well, by not doing it, let's just say you don't risk embarrassing yourself. You don't risk being laughed at, whatever it could be. So what does this give me in the short term? So it's going to give you safety, right? By not putting yourself out there. So maybe that's the human need. By not doing it, that's really what you're fulfilling. So then the question there is, well, how do I fulfill my need for safety or certainty in other ways that allow me to go out and step up on a stage and talk to people while not feeling like I'm going to die, if that's it. And that's what that need for certainty is, right? That you'll be okay if something happens. And so when you look at these patterns and you find out, what is my goal and why am I not there or what can I be doing? And you start to get curious, if the answers to these things are like, it protects me from feeling not good enough, or it protects me from being alone, it protects me from failing, all of that is just actually just really great information. And once it's in your awareness, you can like actively decide and make choices. Was when you can't see it, you just don't even know. You can't choose differently. It becomes much harder, right? This is the one that I want to talk to you about that I see a lot. A client is procrastinating or not where they want to be in their career or in their sport. And sometimes that also comes with this feeling of overwhelmment. They feel very overwhelmed. And that makes sense. If you're procrastinating and not getting things done, especially on the business side, well, of course, you're going to feel overwhelmed. So you might wonder, well, why would somebody do that? Why wouldn't they just work away at their to-do list and get through? Or if it's in sports and they're not feeling like they're one of the, like, well, why aren't you training harder? Why aren't you going for it, right? What I've actually discovered a lot with working with this procrastination piece and this like not playing full out is that it's because they fear that if they actually do, right, that they're not going to measure up. And so by not fully trying, they don't risk failing or proving that they actually aren't good enough. It's much safer and certain for them to stay in the same lane. And if things don't go well, they always have an excuse to fall back on. I didn't give it my all. I could have done this or this or this. And it's really in business and sports, I've seen this the most. Now, they don't logically know this, right? This is the nervous system regulating things. Research actually shows that fear of failure is one of the strongest predictors of procrastination, especially in high performers. So procrastination, many of us think is about laziness, like, oh, I'll get to it later or whatever. It's really not. A lot of the time it's about protection. And so if trying fully, it's like giving it your all means risking proof that you're not good enough, your nervous system may decide it's safer just not to try at all. And therefore, you don't go for it. And yes, you and I know that everyone is good enough to start anything, and that if you work at something, you'll get better at it, guaranteed. And with every action, there is always feedback and an opportunity to learn. And failure offers an opportunity to learn and grow. Like, we know this, right? We know that feedback is a verdict and mistakes aren't walls. They're just simply information. But fear and a fixed mindset kind of block that, and you can't see that. And it really costs people the chance to go for it. It costs them the opportunity to learn what it will actually take to get there. And it can be very tricky to see our own patterns. I think this is also why goal setting can be so powerful, because if you're if you're not hitting your goals, it shines the light on asking why. And that gives you an opportunity to get honest with yourself and take a deeper look underneath the hood, if you will, right? Why am I not where I want to be? Well, what am I not doing, right? Now, as I've mentioned, like, a lot of this isn't conscious, but if you have a behavior that feels like it's holding you back, asking what it's protecting you from can give you answers that maybe you haven't considered before. And this part's really important. The goal isn't to rip the pattern out of your life. That's how people swing between extremes. We're just simply acknowledging it. If you just want to bring it into your awareness, and you can literally think, of course, my system learned this. It was keeping me safe. It was doing its job. But the next question that you really want to ask is there a healthier way to meet this need now? That alone reduces this internal fight, like that feeling of conflict. And I won't get into this episode, but I do cover it in my course that I just released. It touches on the law of acceptance. This is being grateful for your current situation. And I also talk about the law of detachment, which is being able to know where you want to go, but being able to release your grip on it now so that you can play full out, or you can go for it, right? And enjoy yourself while you do. Anyways, that's a different topic, or you can check out the course. But the idea is that the ability to learn what need you've been meeting with the behavior, and then to select a new strategy to meet the need, because our needs just don't disappear. They just get met in different ways. And the real goal is to meet your need in a way that's best for you, the people around you, and for the greater good. So think of your pattern like an overprotective friend. It's loyal and maybe a little intense, and it's still using strategies from years ago. Helpful back then, but maybe a little bit much now. And so we're just recognizing it and then choosing differently. So if you take one thing from this episode, let it be this: you don't repeat patterns because you're broken. You repeat them because they meet a need. And when you can name the payoff, whether it's certainty, connection, significance, or safety, you can see why the behavior exists, and the other options become clearer. It's also easier then to choose a different way. So when you understand what your behavior is protecting you from, you stop fighting yourself and you start working with your system instead. That's where real, lasting change can happen. Just keep your curiosity hat on and be kind to yourself as you explore. So thanks so much for being here. And as always, keep choosing the positive.